JAMB Biology class has 5 sections, all right? You know, an ideal biology textbook will have about 40-something chapters. It will have 42 chapters, right? It will have 33. It will have 35. But according to the Joint Admission Matriculations Board, they simply analyze the JAMB syllabus into 5 sections, denoted with the alphabet A, B, C, D, and what? And E. A is variety of living what? Living organism. You know, that is the different types of living organism we could have. It could be plants, it could be animals, it could be microorganisms. Do you understand? So the different forms, you have them. All right. Then B have to do with forms and function. Forms and function. By saying forms and function, it simply has to do with the systems you have. The systems, the transport system, the circulatory system, the transport system, the excretory, the respiratory and gaseous exchange systems, and other parts of biology, like the other small parts in plants and animals. Then this section C has to do with ecology. Yes, section C is ecology, yes. That is the study of an organism and the intra and interrelationship between that organism with its internal and external environment. It's what? Ecology, yes. Then we also have section D. Section D has to do with heredity and what? The science of variation, which is also known as what class? Genetics, yes. Why E? E for evolution, yes. That aspect of biology that helps you to know that your father's father's father, they are monkeys. And that's what scientists want you to believe that that's where you come from. Is that part, evolution. But today, we are giving attention to the supernatant parts of section A. When I say supernatant parts, I mean the floating part of what? Of section A. And as you can see, we are giving attention to the first part, which is what? Characteristics of what? Characteristics of living what class? Living things. Living things. That thing can encompass plants, animals, or what? Microorganisms. Do you understand? So, now, when you look at the characteristics of living things, you know, biology can be very vast, can be very big, can be very enormous. So for you to enjoy biology, you can decide to use some memory aid to aid your memory. Imagine someone not working well now. What would that person be needing? Crutches, right? It can be the 2-hand crutch or the 1-hand crutch, right? Just to aid the what? Aid the movement. And if someone is not seeing either far or near or has issues with light, what would that person get to aid the vision? A pair of what? Spectacles, right? And what if someone is not hearing well? The person will need what? An hearing aid, right? So you guys need what now this time around to enjoy biology? Memory aid. You guys should remember that this biology is done for 3 years in secondary school. And now we have few months to JAMB exam. So when I say something like give it to you as a point, what are you expected to do? You go back to your drawing board, Abby, and solve the maths and do the needful, not so. So when I say characteristics of living things, they are the things that you have as evidence to show that yes, this thing is what? Is living. This thing is what? Non-living. And what is the memory aid to help us to remember? There's a one common one that everybody knows, like the way you know that this is 1,000 naira note. Everybody knows 1,000 naira note is clear, Abby? So what makes that very clear? That yes, this is a common memory aid or mnemonic. You guys will agree with me that we have one mnemonic called what? Mr. Niger what? Niger D. Yes, Mr. Niger D. And from the Mr. Niger D, the M means what, class? Movement. The R means what? Respiration. The N means what? Nutrition. The I, irritability. The G, growth. The E, excretion. The R, reproduction. And the D, death. That's for O level, SS1 standard. But we can add some other things to Mr. Niger D and make it more original. So what can we add to that to make it more original? We can modify this and say the modification gives us what now? It gives us Mr. Niger D, Mr. Niger Dacto. Yes, this is another one to upgrade it. Mr. Niger Dacto. What is added? Acto, right? That means we really need to act on this to know what it is, right? So what is this A? Adaptation. What is this C? Competition. What is this T? Tolerance. And what is this O? Organization. Can you see we are there's a slight difference now between ordinary level and what? Advanced level biology. We are moving, not so. Those that formulated Mr. Niger D said, aside Mr. Niger D, another one you can use is marriage. Yes. So you can also use marriage to depict the characteristic features of living things. What is M in marriage? Movement. What is A? Adaptation. What is R? Respiration. What is this R? Reproduction. What is this I? Irritability. What is this A? It could mean assimilation. It's just like nutrition too, right? Then what is this G? Growth. And what is E? Excretion. So if you can get marriage, then you can any other one from Acto, you can add it to it and you'll be right good, right? Now, if you have to break this down, there are a whole lot you can learn from Mr. Niger D. All right? Living organisms, if you are asked this question, why do they need to move? It's one thing that will make learning to be fun. You know, when we say learning is fun, what comes to your mind? It means that as you are learning, what happens? You are giving off a smile because you are enjoying what you are learning. So what are some of those things that educational psychology suggested that could help you to remember what you are learning it is? He said we can introduce into our learning interrogative questions like you giving attention to what? What? How? And what? And why? So what are the characteristics of living things? It's on the board. How? How are some things done in science? We give attention to it. That gives us leads us to experimental part of biology. How is it done? The method. Then why? When you ask why is it that? Why is it that some people they have Siamese twins? The head of the twins is conjoined together. Why? What happened during the fertilization or the reproductive phase of activities involved? What happened along the line? Why is it like that? This will help us to learn well. Are you getting it? That is just it. So, some living organisms move because they are trying to avoid a dangerous situation, right? Some move from one place to another in order to find mates. You know what that mate is? This is not a matter of I'm not your mate. It's not that one. Find mate means maybe a male looking for a female or vice versa. Are you guys getting it? Then another reason why living organisms move is to look for food. So how many reasons have I given now? Can you recall? To avoid a dangerous situation or danger, to look for mates, or what? Or food. Yes. Then we have what is called bipedal movement in biology. This is when an organism walks on two legs, right? What about quadrupedal? When you hear quadrupedal, what comes to your mind? For which animals move on four legs? The goats, the capricors, yes. The cow, right? The pig, the sheep, they move on four legs. So you give attention to that. Okay. Now, you know what respiration is? In biology, it will be very wrong for you to say that respiration is a process whereby an organism breathes in and breathes out. That definition is very, very puerile. It's childish. is insufficient and immature. So how will you define the respiration? You simply define respiration by saying that it is a process whereby it's a process whereby food substances are broken down in the cell. Or you say respiration is a process whereby it's a series of biochemical activities. There are a lot of ways you can define respiration. You can say respiration is a series of biochemical activities in which glucose is broken down to release energy. That's one. Or you say respiration is the oxidation of food substances in the cell, especially in the mitochondria, with the release of energy, carbon dioxide and water, in bracket if it is aerobic, or with the release of energy, alcohol and what? Carbon dioxide if it is anaerobic. Do you understand? So what's the meaning of aerobic and anaerobic? Aerobic simply means from the word aero. Aero means air. Look up. Aero. Aero means what? Air. So when a respiration of an organism involves the use of air, which component of air is really important in that scenario? Oxygen. Remember in your chemistry, oxygen is an active component of air, right? That aids what? Combustion. Not only that, it aids or facilitates or quickens the rate of corrosion or rusting, right? It's an active component of air. So aero means use of oxygen, while the prefix anaerobic, ane means what? Means what, class? Without what? Without air or oxygen. Please take note. Okay, let's give attention to this. Nutrition. Living organisms feed. They need to eat so that life processes in the cell will proceed. It will continue to the permanent site. Yes. All right. And nutrition in plants. Got two basic living organisms we give attention to in biology. Basically, is the plants and the animals. So nutrition in plants is not the same in animals. What are we saying here? How plants get their own food. It's not the same way animals what? Get their own food. Basically, plants get their food through a process called autotrophism, or you call it autotrophic nutrition. Do you get? So let's make biology simple now. What is auto? Auto means what? Self. On my own, I can do it. I don't know whether you guys have had a particular mother or maybe some of our mommy or young ladies say, I can drive, but I cannot drive manual. What I can drive is automatic. So automatic means on your own, you can run it, right? So autotrophism or autotrophic nutrition is that type of nutrition whereby an organism manufactures its food. Please take notes. When we go deeper into that in biology, we also see the other forms of autotrophism that we can equally have. I don't want us to digress so that we pick the points. We are still discussing what class? Characteristics of living things. A process whereby animals manufacture their own food is called heterotrophism, or you call it what? Heterotrophic nutrition. What is hetero? Hetero is a prefix that depicts many things. You dey chop this one, you dey chop that one, your mouth know the rest. That is hetero. While trophism in biology means feeding. Are you getting it? If you can remember this in your ecology, food chain, food web, pyramid of number, pyramid of energy, pyramid of biomass. There's also one part of the topic called trophic levels. Abi? Trophic level is also known as feeding level, right? Trophism. So anytime you hear trophism, it means what? Feeding. Autotrophism, feeding in which an organism does that by its own, by its own, like on your own. Or your. Why hetero means many things, feeding. Okay. Irritability simply means the ability of an organism to respond to stimulus. Do you understand? What are the common stimulus we have in biology? Science students. Yeah, I want to call you guys science students. Or I call you science house. Or I call you lovers of biology. Which one do you prefer? Which one I will pick it so that any other time that the rest of the class joins us, what you guys who are the pioneer members of this lesson for this JAMB 2026 tutorial class, I've chosen will be used by everyone. So should I call you guys science house or lovers of biology? Which one are you picking? Science house or lovers of biology? All right, I'll give you lovers of biology. Because you love biology, that's why you guys are here. So when you hear the word irritability, like I said, it is the ability of an organism to respond to changes, in their environment. And is it the environment that will change that will be directly linked to the body of the organism? No. We have stimulus. We have what is called receptors. So, lovers of biology, look at this. What are the things that an organism can respond to? Look at the one. We have pain. We have heat. When you give attention to heat, we have what? Hot or what? Cold. Aside heat, we also have what class? Pressure. Or what other things? It could also be what class? Touch. It could also be what class again? Chemicals. Let me give attention to this one. Chemicals. When you hear chemicals in chemistry, majority of us, before now, what comes to our mind is something poisonous. No. When you eat your Indomie with fried egg, what are you eating, class? Chemical. If you are eating shawarma, what are you eating? Chemical. It does not mean it's poisonous. It does not mean that. If you are even drinking water, you are drinking what? Chemical. And if you are drinking raw acid, which I doubt is possible for a normal human person to do, if I thought you are doing that too, you are equally drinking chemical. So what is chemical? A chemical is all forms of matter, either natural or artificial. So is your food not matter? Is your food not matter, class? It is. And what is matter? Remember, matter is anything that has mass and can occupy space. So if we say your food is matter, by extension, we can equally conclude that your food is also a chemical, because chemicals are all forms of matter, either natural or what? Artificial. So now let's give attention to this. Have you woken up before? Around 2 o'clock in the night, maybe you want to go and urinate, or you just woke up to do something in the middle of the night, and you go to your dining table and you see cockroaches or ants there. But while you left before you left the table in the night, you did not see anything like that. But in the midnight, they decided to come there. Did they receive a phone call to come to the table? How did they get to know that there are food crumbs or cake crumbs on top of the table? Cockroaches have what is called chemoreceptors. They have great sense of what? Smell. They have great affinity for chemicals. So the crumbs of the cake, whether the vanilla flavor from the cake, they will perceive it no matter how far they are in the house, and they will locate their way and come to that place. Not so. And as you are sitting in this class, if someone should touch you at the nape of your neck with hand like this, will you not respond to that feeling? That is called irritability. Now, growth. Growth. Psychologists could call growth improvements. Psychology, they could refer to growth as what? Improvement. But in biology, what is growth? Growth is defined as the permanent, irreversible increase in size, mass, and complexity of an organism brought about by the synthesis of a new protoplasm or cell. Did you guys get the definition? It's a JAMB class. If it's SS1 class now, I'll be writing every detail on the board. But some, I may decide to put it on the board, while some you will have to put it down on your note. The definition of growth is not what JAMB will ask you, Sha. But it's important that you are familiar with some terminologies in biology to make learning to be fun. You don't need to cram it. Let me say it again. When someone says what is growth, what do I say? How do I describe how a psychologist sees growth? What would they call it? Improvement, right? Wow. Girl, you are really improving. Maybe they're giving attention to mental growth, right? But in biology, how is growth defined? It's defined as what? The permanent. You cannot see someone tall to, like my height now. Today now I'm like this. The next, maybe by 2027, I come down a bit. Is it done? When you have reached a particular height, it's either you stop there or you continue. That's why we call it permanent. Irreversible increase in what? Size. mass, and what? Complexity. Complexity means, so this kind of hormone don't dey this girl body. That's growth. A girl of 10 years old now, hardly will you find this hormone in her body. Progesterone. Remember in biology, progesterone is what? Is an example of a pregnancy hormone. 10-year-old pregnancy hormone is very, very rare. It's not a common thing, right? But look at a girl that has grown to be a lady of 28 years and she's pregnant, 2 months pregnant. There will be a difference, right? You know, some of our aunties that are pregnant, a lot of things used to worry them. Some of them, they will just like to eat everything they see. If you are beside them, maybe in church or in a gathering, and you are eating all butter biscuit, they are eating one biscuit already, but seeing that all butter, they will ask you, where did you buy the biscuit? You say, before you know, they have requested for the biscuit. And if they are at home, they will always be entering the bathroom because they are feeling hot. And it's not surprising why they are eating much. They are not just eating for themselves. They are eating for what? 2. No, there's a particular saying, whether for 2. So they are eating for what? 2. Eating for yourself and eating for what? The developing fetus. Very important. Please take note. That's growth. Take note of this point about growth. It is a known fact that for growth to occur, the rate of anabolism must exceed the rate of catabolism. That word seems big, right? What is anabolism? Anabolism simply refers to the process by which substances are made or built up in the body, while catabolism is a process whereby substances are broken down in the body. That is catabolism. So for growth to occur, anabolism must be doing well. It must be taking place on a more grander scale compared to catabolism. Are you getting it? Take for example, someone who has A1 in biology does not mean that he scored everything. He may score 80 over 100. What is that class? A1. But he missed how many? 20. He has grown now. 80 ratio 20. The boy not right. But let's assume a scenario whereby that 80 is the one that he missed. Then 20 was the one he got. Which one can we liken to be catabolism in that scenario? Is it 80 that he missed or 20 that he got? The 80 that he missed, that is breakdown, failure. So if you must grow, the rate at which substances are built up in your body must exceed the rate at which substances are broken down in the what? Body. Okay, let's give attention to what? Then under this growth, it is important you know that living organism must pass through 5 basic stages. Namely, we have, if you are forming the note, you can write this under that growth. We have birth to what? To growth, to maturity, to old age, or you call it what? Decline. And the last one is what? Death. That is it too. According to this schematic diagram, how many stages did I use these schematic diagrams to depict? How many stages? Is it 5 or 6? 5. What's the first one? Birth. The second one? Growth. The second one? The third one rather? Maturity. The fourth? Old age or decline. And the last one is what? Death. Yes, I remember one time when I was teaching some SS1 students and I was telling them about this. And when I mentioned the death part, a boy was like, I said, don't kill yourself. It's not something to be afraid of, sincerely speaking. Why? 100 years ago, my friend, what's your name? Is that right? Nadoze. Okay. Nadoze. 100 years ago, where are you? Or let me make it like this. Girl, what's your name? Ruth. Good. Ruth, when Moses was taking the Israelites to cross the Red Sea, where are you? Yes, girl, what's your name? Charity. When your daddy and mommy, they are in a modern school or they are in primary school, where are you? Where are you? I didn't say where you. Now, so it will be person die. You will not just know anything. You can just, it's gone. But let's give attention to the first one. Birth is when someone is given birth to, right? What is the next one? Growth. Growth is when is the puberty stage, when you start noticing some features, you understand? Yeah, maturity is when you are seen as an adult. You may be 25 years and a man of 42 years, you look at him that, you can't talk to me like that. I'm a family man. 25-year-old can be family man, you know that? That's maturity. Everybody is a senior man. Respect at this point is what? Is highly reciprocal. You respect me, I do what? I respect you. What stage is that? Maturity. Then, when you come mature, you mature. Will you now be maturing with time? Do you want to mature for life? No, now. At some point, if you are standing like me, at some point, you first come like, you be like, they dance, make I come back. You will not be able to come back, just do like this. Before you know, you continue to walk like this. That is old age. And old age is different in people. Some that they don't hear well, the brain is not functioning well, they cannot walk well, like that. And at the end of every show, depending on health, social, many factors, death comes later. Take note of that. Okay, let's give attention to excretion, the removal of what? Waste products of metabolism from the body of what? An organism. Hello? That refuse that you have at the entrance of your dormant in the house, assume that refuse is inside your room. How will it be like? Will it be a good sight to behold? Okay, I should talk now. Am I speaking French? Will it be a good sight to behold when you have a heap of refuse in your room? It goes sharp? No. Sightly. It's unsightly. Yes, looking at it with the eye is not looking good. What about the stench or the smell that will come out from it? It's not also good. So also our body generates refuse. Our body generates garbage. Our body generates death. Biologists refers to it as excretory waste products of metabolism. An example of excretory waste product of metabolism is we have what? Feces. We have what? Urine. We have sweat. These are waste products. These waste products of metabolism, they need to be removed or expelled from the body. If you have a bad boy in a particular secondary school setting, what will you do to the boy so that it will not harm the other law-abiding student, or so that it will not influence them? What would a normal school do to that boy under normal conditions of temperature and pressure? They will have to expel him. There are a lot of grammar used to describe that process. They can use expel, they can use rusticate. University loves the word rusticate. I don't know where they use rust. Why are they using now? Expel, comot. I like PG. Expel in PG. They comot them from school. Rusticate in PG. What do they still call it? They comot them from school. So bad things within your body, when if it harm your body, it has to leave your body. That process where it leaves your body is called what? Excretion. The generalized name for it is what? Excretion. Do you understand? Why is it important that these waste products of metabolism are removed from the body? Because one good thing is that these excretory waste products in the body, right? They could produce what is called toxins. Hello? Toxins. These toxins, look out. The excretory waste products, for one thing, they could produce what class? Toxins. These toxins are what? Toxic. Toxins, they are toxic. Anything toxic produces what? Toxins. Either ways, they are harmful to the body, and so they need to be expelled from the body. They can interfere with normal activity in the body. You know, normal thing that should go straight, forward reaction, something in the body now. The toxins will impede, they will affect it. They need to be removed from the body. That's one. Waste products, another good reason why waste products should be removed from the body is that the accumulation of these metabolic waste products in the body can lead to what? To the death of the organism. All right? All right. Now let's give attention to this one. Reproduction. Reproduction. If you remember the creation story in the Bible, you also have the creation story in the Quran. But let me give attention to the Bible. It is said that after God created Eve for Adam, God now blessed them. He blessed them before they forgot hand. He blessed them and he said that they should be fruitful and become many. That act is called procreation. What do I call it? Procreation. But in biology, what do we call procreation in biology? Which biological term is used to describe procreation? We call it many names. One of such names we call it is, we have what is called copulation. We have what is called coition. We also have what is called what? What? Mating. See, this mating is also the same thing as coition, because coition is coined from the word, a Latin word called what? Coitus. Coitus simply means male genital coming in contact with the female genital, so that there could be a kind of exchange of sex cells or gametes, which will in the long run lead to fertilization. And when there is fertilization, there is what is called conception. Like that, before you know, you have the young one coming up. And young ones of living organism in biology is usually called neonates. If it's an animal, neonate. Or you call it the fetus. But before it forms the fetus, it forms what is called a zygote. Okay? And before it forms the zygote, it forms different mass of cells, the blastoma and the likes of that. It is very important that living organisms are able to reproduce. Do you understand? Because living organisms will die. All living organisms will die after some time. But when you have a young one, you will not feel it. There was one time I went wild in my thoughts. What did I imagine in my thoughts? I assumed that I'm 80-something years old on the hospital bed. And my son, who looks very much like me, is beside me by the sick bed, and he said, Daddy, Papa, you'll be fine. Daddy, you'll be fine. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I look at him looking very handsome and said, I'll be fine. I know, is that my son? Maybe that my son is an engineer, a petroleum and gas engineer. I want to wish them well. So if you like, you can call anyone for your own son. But that's my son. Then I also have my daughter beside me at the bedside. Maybe she's a matron now. I said, Daddy, let me just check your heart rate. Let me check your respiratory rate. Let me check your pulse rate. Who is that person checking? Another of my child, who is a girl. What's her occupation this time? A matron, right? Then I see my grandchildren around the hospital bed showing care. Low battery. Okay, low power mode. So showing care. Normally, do you think I will really feel bad at the hospital bed seeing my son, my daughter, and everybody being around me saying I'll be fine? Even though I know that I will not be fine. Me say I know that I don't overstay. You understand? But they telling me that I'll be fine. How will I feel? If you are in my shoe, how will you feel? If you are not doing as if this thing concern you. Okay, you go there like this, Abi. You go just remain like this. Let's say the reality now. See, you know what I like about reality? What is this? What is this class? A. What is this? B. The reality is that this A, either you like it or not, is what? Is A. And this B, either you like it or not, is what? B. That is just it. So one of the good reasons why it is good that organisms are able to reproduce is to ensure continuity of life. What do I call it, class? To ensure what? Continuity of life. All right. Death. You know, I don't have much to say about that. It is simply the cessation of existence. Cessation is C-E-S-S-A-T-I-O-N. Let's give attention to the advanced part of this biology class, which is what? Acto. What is acto? The A for acto means what? Adaptation. You know, when one of the survival mechanism, or one of the survival stunts that living organism pull or that they have is adaptation. You know, when you are able to adapt, it means that the organism has some morphological or physiological structural features of its body that could enable that organism to thrive or to survive in its environment. Can we give an example of one? A very good example is the gills of fishes. It helps fishes to be able to use oxygen in what? Inside water. You know there's oxygen in water, right? We call it oxygenated water. Fresh water is oxygenated. The amount of oxygen in that body of water is measured with a terminology called BOD. What do I call it? BOD. BOD means biochemical oxygen demand. But a stagnant water, will it have as much oxygen that a fresh water will have? No, because a stagnant water is not flowing. There is no life in the water. There are weeds growing in the water. There's bacterial activities in the water which consumes the useful oxygen you could have in the water. Do you understand? So what is one adaptive feature now that you guys have to be able to live on land? You and fish, you guys use oxygen. But the oxygen you guys use is called atmospheric oxygen. Why the one that fishes use is what? Is the oxygen that is enmeshed in what? In water. Do you understand? All right. So there are several adaptations that living organisms have. Chameleon now, one of the adaptations of a chameleon is ability to change color, right? If chameleon is reddish in color, for example, and is standing on a tree that has all its leaves to be green, and you are a predator, you want chameleon, someone says you get him chameleon and they give you 100,000 naira. I want to keep chameleon as pet. Yes, and for true, chameleon is kept as a pet by some people. Yes, it's kept by some people as pets. You guys may not want to take it as pet because it's very small. You're like, what's this? Waiting be this. You guys see bigger animals to be better kept as pets, like the cats and what? Dogs. But as small as chameleon is, which is roughly like the size of my fist, some people keep it as pet. So if the color is appearing as red and it's in a greenish background or on a tree that has all its leaves to be green, would it not be easy for you to see it? So one adaptation that adaptive feature rather that chameleon has is the ability to change what? Color. Let me give you one funny adaptation of one animal called camel. Camel can drink about 3 gallons of water. Why is that an adaptation? Because camel is an organism that is known to thrive or to be found in the arid or desert regions of North Africa or even northern Nigeria. So, and in deserts, you know, in biology we have cold and hot deserts. The Sahara Desert in West Africa is an example of a hot desert, meaning that there's no water. So if the camel did not drink when they see water, the camel is on its own. You'll be like the owner, if I thought the owner will be able to communicate with the camel, the owner will be like, drink, you know, when we leave this place. You get it? So, and they have that large capacity to store excess water so that they can thrive. There's some desert plants called cactus opuntia. In order to reduce the amount of water loss through evapotranspiration, the leaves of cactus opuntia is reduced to spine. I don't know whether you guys know what cactus opuntia is. Have you been to a particular compound before whereby you see some flower and on the flower is like fish pie, it's flabby, it's like your palm, but now has some, it's usually greenish like this. It could be in a pot. Maybe they love nature in the compound. You see something like this. What is usually there is called a potted plant. What is this plant called? What is it called, class? Cactus what? Opuntia. This thing is not the leaf. This flabby part is called what? The what? The stem. What does the stem store? It stores water. The stem is succulent. It stores water. Then the normal leaf of plant that you guys know to be like this. You know leaf now, it looks like this. The leaf of cactus opuntia, does it look like the regular leaf? No. It is reduced to what? Reduced to what, class? Spine. That is an adaptation to control or minimize water loss. And it will surprise you to know that plants that are known to survive in arid or hot environment, they are called xerophytes. Please note that. Normal land plants are called mesophytes. A good example is maize. A good example is beans. Mesophyte. We also have what is called water-loving plants. We call them hydrophytes. A good example is water lily. Most of these plants start with water. There's water lily, there's water lettuce, there is water hyacinth, there is mangrove. Okay, the red and white mangrove, the example of hydrophyte. We also have salt-loving plants. Plant that if the salt concentration of the area is high, maybe an estuarine swamp, this plant will still survive. A good example of a salt-loving plant is bamboo. Okay, it will cry. So these are, a lot to say about adaptation. Then competition is simply the struggle. When you are competing with someone or somebody, what are you doing? Hello? What are you doing when you are competing with someone or somebody? You are struggling with the person. What are the things living organisms could compete for? They could compete for what class? Food or nutrients. When I say food, maybe we give attention to what class? What? Animals. Then nutrient is for what class? Plants. You understand the point? You guys will not have a potted pepper now planted at the garden of your house. And every morning you go and pour milk and tea and Indomie noodles. Is that how it is done? Most times we believe that nutrient is already in the soil, Abi? And if it's like you have been planting with that soil over a long period of time, you can continue to support it with what? Manure, right? So plants, what do they feed on? Nutrients. So by extension, what could they compete for? Nutrients. What about animals? What do they feed on? Food. So by extension, what could we compete for? Compete for food. So what other things? We could compete for space. God will bless you. Sorry, yes. Bless you. Space. What else again? Lights. What else again? Water. Space, shelter. Similar thing. Same thing. Lights. What can we also compete for? Mates. Right? So, which living organism prefers to compete for space? It's mostly plants, right? For plants to be able to compete for space very well, there's one particular terminology that is used to reduce competition in plants. What do we call it? We call it what, plant? We call it what? Disperser, right? Some plants, their seed will be blown far away by wind. While some, what carries their seed far is explosive mechanism. While some, what carries their seed far is insects or pollinating agents. While some, what carries their seed far is what? Is other animals, right? And while some, what carries their seed far is water. A good example of one that is carried far by water is coconuts. That's why you sit at the beach. The seed is carried with what? Water. Light is more. Who competes for light? Plants or animals? Plants. Yes, everybody should know that. What about water? Plants or animals? Both of the two organisms, right? That is why it is said that water, get enemy. Water is usually a powerful element in life that you will not take for granted. Very important. What about mates? Animals, they compete for mates more compared to plants. All right. Tolerance simply means the ability of an organism to withstand unfavorable conditions in its or her environment. Some of the things that an organism could not be able to tolerate could be extremes of temperature. You know what that means, class? When I say extremes of temperature, it means temperature that is above normal. Extremes. Class, you guys, if you assume to be normal, judging by the value that a thermometer gives, you will be said to have a normal body temperature. Normal body temperature is 36.9 degrees Celsius, or approximately. Normal body temperature is what? 37. So anything below this value, you are not considered to be normal. Hello? Like I said normal body temperature is what class? 36.9. Or make we no flog the matter too much. Normal body temperature is 37. So if your temperature is 37.1, are you okay? Yes. If your temperature is 37.9, are you okay? Yes. 37.2, 37.3, 37.4, down to 37.9, are you okay? Yes. If your temperature is 36.9, are you okay? Yes. 36.8, yes. 36.7, yes. Why? Because the values of this temperature is still within the what? It's still within what? Normal what? Range. But what is the meaning of extremes of temperature? The human body, when the temperature of a particular person reaches 38, for example, that person has slight fever. At that point, you that used to shout at your younger one that, don't touch my rice. If you touch my rice, I will slap your face. But now when you are having malaria, that younger one will say, Auntie, can I eat your rice now? Eat. Because one of the symptoms of malaria is sore throat. And that symptom of malaria is loss of appetite. Nothing appeals to you again. That's why when you guys are young, you guys used to enjoy more when you have malaria. Mom will say, what do you want to eat? And most times, what's our response? Nothing. Even though when they give you what you wanted to eat, what happens after some time? You vomit it, right? And that's as a result of indigestion. It's one of the actions of the malaria parasites in the body. Take note of that. So, 38 is light fever. 39, the malaria parasites have what? They have replicated in the body. They have increased. They have undergone a characteristic of living thing on their own, which is called what? Growths. They have become so many. And malaria parasites, when they become so many in the body, they don't remain the same. As they become many, they change their rank. When you join the military now, you are a low rank officer, you'll be called a private or a recruit. But when you do some military courses, you go to military school, you travel for combat missions outside Nigeria, we used to be private. After some time, they will call you major general. You don't get level, no be so? That also happens in the developmental stages of the plasmodium of mosquito. We have what is called the trophocytes. Okay? Trophocyte is just like the lead stage. After the trophocyte, we have what is called meterozoites. We have the schizocyte. We have the gamozoite. I think that's the last stage, and it's very, very serious at that point. All right. So, organization is another part I want us to give attention to. Living organisms are organized. They are organized. But before I go to organization, please, let me still go back to tolerance. Humans cannot tolerate any temperature above 42 degrees Celsius. Any temperature above 32 degrees Celsius results into what? Results in what? Results in death. When someone has malaria or any ailment that the temperature soars to 40, you just try to do something very fast about it. You just have to do something very fast about it so that the temperature can be brought down to the normal body temperature. But you are in an hospital whereby you are trying to rescue grandma, the temperature is already 40. The nurses and doctors are trying to salvage the situation, but before you know, the temperature jumps from 40.0 to 40.1. Before you know, it enters 41. Anything that will make the temperature to enter 42, mama is already dead. That means the tolerable range or the tolerance range for humans should not go or exceed 42. Anything beyond 42, death result. Now, let's give attention to organization. Organization in biology could also be explained to mean what class? Order. Order could mean organization could mean the hierarchy of living organisms. The hierarchy. So what are the hierarchy of living organisms? We have four basic hierarchy. We have what? Cell to tissue to what? To organ to what? To system to what class? To what class? Organism. This is the basic four. But some schools of thought, they said, this is not, let's do this thing well. They're like, what is worth doing at all? It's worth doing well. Let's do this thing well. They said, we are not going with the four. The four is good though, it's not bad though, but let's start it from before it gets to say, start from somewhere now. Okay. What did they say? They said living organism, the level of organization starts from atoms to what? To macro what? To macromolecules. From macromolecules to what? To organelles. From organelles, they now say, okay, can now talk about cell now. To cell. From there, we have what class? Tissue. From tissue, we have what? Organ. From organ, we have what? Organ what? Organ system. Then after organ system, we have what class? Multi what? Multicellular organism. So you can go with anyone. O-level biology. This one is what? Anyhow you want to learn it, no problem. The two is correct, it's fine. So living organisms are organized. We start from where? Atoms. Going to what? Macromolecules. So what are the biological atoms that you could have in the body of an organism? What are the elements that is in your body, you guys? Atoms that you have in your body. Yes, my friend, what did you say? Nemeka? Atoms. We could have what? Carbon atom. It's in your body. Or every living organism, any organic substance is made up of what class? Carbon. So, since I say any organic substance, you and me, we are made up of carbon. What other thing can you think of again? Hydrogen, God bless you. Yeah. Hydrogen. What else can we have again? Oxygen. What else can we have again? Nitrogen. That's it. They are the atoms, biological atoms. The atoms you can have in a biological sample, you and me. What about micromolecules that you could have in the body of a living organism? We could talk about what class? Ammonia. What can we also have again? Water, right? What can we have again? Nitrogen what? Nitrogen gas is a molecule. Oxygen what? Gas is a molecule, right? Then what are the organelles? You can think of mito what? Mito what class? Chondria. You can think of what class? Nucleus, right? Then what about the cell? You can think of spermatozoa. What about another cell? You can think of what? Ova. What about tissue? You can think of hair. You can think of bone. You can think of blood. Blood is a liquid tissue. Please take note of that. Blood is a tissue. Then what about organ? You can think of liver. You can think of heart. You can think of roots. Not only in animals, okay? You can think of roots. You can think of flowers. They are organs. What about organ system? You can think of nervous what class? Nervous system. You could also think of what? Transport what class? System. Then what about multicellular organism? You can think of man, Homo sapiens. You can think of rat, Rattus. You can think of orange tree. These are multicellular organisms. So we will be stopping here for today, for this session rather. Then in a few minutes time, we'll be giving attention to what? This cell that we have decided to give attention to. How does it look like? And these things, the way they look, these structures, the way they look, what do they do? This structure is not looking like this one, it's different. This structure looks like Panadol Extra. This other structure looks like a ring, a wedding ring. What does it do for the cell? Is it just there for decoration purpose? We'll find out. Any questions on what we have learned so far? Any question? All right.